Okay, Pisces. Yep, I know what you're thinking. Oh, finally, we get our card reading done. We haven't got it, ever since you started doing this stuff, kid. Yeah, I know. Keep your keep your fishy things attached. Calm down. But anyway, so before I begin your card reading, just want to let you know, down below in the description box, my Teespring actually has zodiac sign merch. So if you have, say, like the sign of Pisces, you'll actually see down below there's socks, shirts, no, not really shoes because I'm not that fancy yet, but just like mugs, socks, blankets, what have you on there. And I actually have a drawing that I drew of the sign and then the zodiac symbol, and then with it on the back side of it, it will have your guys' quote saying that I am whatever here. I'm not going to spoil it because that's just going to take the fun out of it. So without further ado, here's your cardstock to the face. No, not literally, but. So every week, every sign gets 3 goddesses for the week. The first goddess to come out is the one in power, pretty much the one that's telling you who favors you this week and pretty much who's going to be helping you out the most this week. The second one to come out is the one that's going to be providing to you the most, like the most ideal traits to take in. In other words, these traits, what she's saying is what you need to start embodying more to get the most out of this week. And then the last one to come out is essentially saying, okay, listen here, fishy. You hope you don't forget this, because if you forget this, well, it's not going to be the best week for you. In other words, the one that you mustn't forget in regarding the qualities. Okay. Okay. Well. So, so Pisces, talk about having pretty much of a bang week. So, goddess in power this week is Kali for destruction. So, essentially, this week, if there's something that has been on your mind, something that's been there just kind of annoying you, or something that you just have had enough of it, or just something that you just can't withstand anymore, you'll be actually be given a good kind of like a good booster to stick the last nail in the coffin and then just go and then have it kick the bucket finally. But also with destruction comes something new. So this week expect something to end finally, but at the same time too, when something ends, something new comes about. So keep aware of that. Who you must seek out is Nyx for respite. Now, being that she's the one you must seek out, Nyx is believed to be the first divine entity to come into existence from chaos according to Greek mythology. And essentially what I'm getting is that even though you have the capability of having something go overkill and have it not only kick one bucket but 50,000 buckets over and over again to make sure that the buckets keep getting kicked indefinitely, consider going about it in a way that really doesn't give like the full picture. In other words, have destruction come about from it, but in a way that kind of leaves it on a cliffhanger, like, oh well, she just completely annihilated something, so then what happens next? uh, we don't know what's going to happen next. So, like, not being fully aware and not fully giving out 100% about what you're planning on, that's usually what Nyx is primarily about, just leaving you in the dark, leaving you in the unknown. And then the one you mustn't forget is Baba Yaga for loss. And since Baba Yaga's loss, for you mustn't forget, pretty much what it's saying is that sometimes you have to remember that sometimes things just have to be flung out the window. Be like, well, that's a loss. Oh well, it is what it is. I tried. I did everything I could. But what I'm also getting from this is, kind of like taking something and, sticking it in their face and being like, okay, piss it, and then not giving them any kind of closure or anything to come about it. And then as soon as you're not giving them that closure, you're like, okay, well, I'm leaving them in the dark. That's a loss for them, so I'm leaving it at that. So if there's any kind of situation where you're getting kind of annoyed, agitated, pissed at, just pretty much give it a good slap at the face, leave it on a cliffhanger, and then just accept it as a loss while they're like still lost and not knowing what to do. At least that's what I'm getting for your goddesses this week. Now regarding the tarot, I'm going to be using the Epic Tarot, and I haven't used this deck before, so lucky fishes, I guess. And I'm going to be doing a basic elemental spread, which is essentially your health, communications, your zest of life, or your challenges, whichever decides to come out first, and then your emotional sector comparing to divinity, emotions, lovey-dovey, cheesy, woozy-woo stuff, and then your 3 cards for advice that week. So regarding your health, wellness, and sense of stability, and essentially what's making you feel secure this week, we have the King of Pentacles. So expect this week to be having an increase of health and wellness this week, but also at the same time expect somebody to be giving you a lot more security this week. Expect to hear some good news regarding your health, finally. And also, pretty much your way of living is going to be much more secure. And I'm also getting it for some odd reason. If there's a party of at least 3 people that you know of, at least 3, they're going to be taking a step back this week, and they're going to see you as a figure to not mess with. So if there's like a dispute or something regarding your financial standing or anything like that, 3 people are going to take like a step back and allow you to, claim your throne and keep your throne and not put up with any more BS regarding your health, wellness, or standing. And you're going to feel much more secure this week and not have a lot of BS going around your head. Now regarding your communications, interaction with other people, knowledge pursuits, intelligent pursuits, and interacting with other people, essentially anything that's regarding expanding your knowledge, wisdom, and the whatnot. We have the Chariot, or the Hong Kong Fooey card. So if there's an endeavor where you're going to be communicating with someone, you're probably going to go a little bit too fast and run them over and not be stopped. Essentially, you'll be able to communicate what you need to communicate, point blank, and in a way where they're not going to be able to oppose you. But also, if there's a pursuit that you're wanting to learn about, you're going to be unstoppable when taking up this pursuit and learning about it. It could be anything from like a religious pursuit, a academic pursuit, or even a new hobby and a skill. You'll be able to pick it up and master it a lot faster than the norm people would. Now regarding your fire sector, that's the area where you're going to get the most zest of life, what's going to inspire your action, or potential obstacle that's in the way. Let's see what decides to jump out of the deck. So regarding the fire sector, we have the 4 of Cups. So your challenge this week, in this depiction of the 4 of Cups, we have a maiden in white, and she has 2, on the side of her, she has 2 girls, kind of look like they're gossiping, and she's holding a thing of white lilies, and she's looking straight ahead like, what the heck are these 2 saying? And then in front of her are 4 cups. So in this depiction, what I'm getting from this is that your challenge this week is to not really let BS talk of other people mess with you and blind you from what's really in front of you. And this actually might tie into the Chariot, that sometimes what people say is actually really just trying to cloud you from the truth and what needs to be aware of, and that some people are really just trying to like take you off the path that you're already aware of in front of you, but they're trying to blind you with stupidity and make your way of thinking get tarnished. So make sure you keep full awareness with that Chariot and grounding with that King of Pentacles. Make sure you stick to that. So regarding your emotional standing, the cheesy stuff, the woozy woo stuff, and what have you, or even also a connection to divinity, we have the Hermit. In this depiction, we have the actual Greek god Kronos. And yep, even though he looks like the death figure, don't worry, you're not going to have buckets be kicked. What I'm getting for this Hermit card regarding your emotions and connection to divinity is to actually separate from other people's views of divinity and go on a more self-realization towards divinity, or even a self-realization of self, because outside of you is too clouded and it's too blinding of you, and I'm getting that Four of Cups messing with you too, saying like, well, in order to be with God, you have to be with Him like this. No, not really, because how you interact with divinity is how you do it, not nobody else. If somebody else is going to nitpick you about that, you can tell them to go jump off a cliff and piss it, because that's something you don't tell people what to do. Because when you go and find God on your own, that's when you actually see the true light. Because in this depiction with the Hermit, you have Kronos with the little lit candle at the end guiding him. So your advice this week. One, two, three. Okay, advice this week. Oh boy. Okay. Here's what we got. We have the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles, the Queen of Sass, the Queen of Swords, and then the Hangman. Well, we're going to go right back to the beginning of how this reading started with like, when it comes to your belief system and the way you stand and how you have your sense of security and what makes you feel the most zestful and the most fruitful in your life, if you're holding on to something that is actually gaining for yourself, don't be afraid to, pick up the sword and, just start brandishing and telling people to go piss it. Because really, people can give you suggestions and give you potential advice and give you ideas. But at the end of the day, having the Queen of Swords as an advice card, well, she's the one that doesn't put up with BS, and she's the one that will actually take that offering of water right there and then just dump it in front of the person who gave it to her and tell her, and she'll be telling them, listen, kid, I'm not really impressed, and I'm getting kind of sick of your BS, so how about you just piss it before, you start getting, pricked with this pointy object I have in my other hand. And as soon as you do that, stick up for yourself that aspect or whatever's been bothering you, being a pest, actually becomes thrown into Tartarus, like this hangman figure. And pretty much this depiction of the hangman is about a story about somebody, I can't remember his name exactly, but he betrayed Zeus so horribly that to the point where essentially for the rest of his existence he's into Tartarus, and every day at sunrise and sunset he gets his liver eaten out by a bird. And essentially, that's how he remains for the rest of his existence. So essentially, your advice is hold on to your belief system, or hold on to what's giving you life this week. Don't be afraid to get a little bit overkill feisty and, slap somebody. And if you have to slap them pretty hard to the point where they're like stuck in a forever of, oh my gosh, I need to stop doing that and I've learned my lesson. Well, sometimes that's the best way to teach somebody a lesson, so that way, in the end, you'll be able to be free from this thing that's been giving you more loss than necessary. So other than that, Pisces, that's what I have for you this week, and I will see you next week.